This is the second part of the roles played in anger demonstration, and I'm going to introduce you this time to the green options cards. Okay, so we found out what our angry style is like, what role we played as children. Maybe we're still playing it now and we want to be different, we want to change. So what are my options? How can I look at being different? First of all, I'm going to have a look at good old assertiveness. That I'm going to set boundaries as to how others may treat me. This is one of the biggest issues in counselling that I would say comes up in almost every single case. That our anger comes from being wounded very often, and this is because we have given permission, as it were, to people to treat us badly. Well, no more. I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to learn how to defend myself, stand up for myself, and actually stop this continuing in the way that I've been behaving since childhood. So learning to be assertive and set boundaries is really important. And coupled with that is the option to find my voice. I will be heard, and it's okay to disagree. Doesn't it look easy when you see it on a nice little card? That can be a long journey, but to have a voice, particularly if your roles played in family was silent or passive, now to learn to have a voice and to be respected and heard and to overcome fear in that is a very important stage of growth. This one is called Speak the Truth. That when our childhood has been littered with people using manipulation or half-truths, the determination to actually I am going to be truthful and direct in what I say so that I'm clear. I'm not going to deal in hearsay, half-truths and lies. And if someone is playing backbiter and we hear things about other people, we can actually say, I'm going to choose to walk away from that and go and talk to the person directly and find out the truth for myself. There's something very important about truth. What is the actual situation? To find out what really happened, what people really meant, what they really said, can be a really important part of living differently and being a different person. And that, of course, all takes courage. And this is the area I want to work on. I will face my fears and risk confrontation. I will learn not to be so much of a people pleaser, but to be braver, to feel the fear and do it. Someone said, courage isn't feeling brave, it's feeling scared and doing it. And this can be a real growth point for many people in their counselling. These two cards, commitment and work through, if I look at commitment first, is saying yes to the other person. I will not walk away from you and reject you. And work through is I will work to find ways to resolve this conflict. Now this is very much about changing the patterns of childhood where you played walk or whatever or closed door. That I'm going to stop doing that actually, and I want to learn the skills to work through my conflicts and to repair relationships. There are times, however, where it is more important for self-protection, and this card says I will step away from abusive relationships, ones that are toxic and harmful to you. In many cases, I think in counselling you explore that it's not going to be resolved, but it is important to walk away. Now you can feel here how this isn't a role that's played, it's a good self-protective decision that you make to take care of yourself, and I hope you can get the sense of that. Sometimes we've lost perspective, that we've lost the ability to see things from the other person's point of view, and we're angry with them without really understanding what's going on. And this says I will try and respect and understand your point of view. So you can see there one person's holding a 9 and the other person's holding a 6. It's exactly the same shape, it's just turned upside down. And if we can get into the other person's shoes, perhaps do some Gestalt chair work, perhaps sit where they sit, see the world as they see them, that can help enormously to resolve our own anger and perhaps their anger with us. If we don't deal directly, it's very easy to displace our anger and take it out on other people. And actually, this is a determination to stop doing that when it's actually not their fault. They're a soft target. I know they'll go on accepting and loving me even if I'm vile to them, but that's not really fair. And sometimes this is quite a big step to take down. I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm going to look at this, see who I'm really angry with, and I'm going to deal with it. In that, I'm going to stop playing volcano and tornado. I am actually going to stop exploding with anger and frightening people. Whoa, that's a big one. That's a very big one. That this is called calm. I am going to learn ways to get in before I explode, to recognize the signs, and to sometimes it's important to take time out. I'm going to remove myself from a heated situation and get some perspective. I'm going to start changing my behavior. I'm going to take responsibility for that. These are awfully grown-up cards, but they're important as a direction to go in. It's not something that happens overnight, but this is what I want to work on in my therapy. I want to observe my own behavior. I'm going to seek to be curious about and not overwhelmed by my feelings. Mindfulness talks about having an experiencing ego and an observing ego. So you're not just caught up with the huge emotional churning inside, but actually you're observing what you're doing and beginning to get a bit of distance and thinking, why do I do that? To be curious about your story. Where did I learn to do that? What are better ways of being in a relationship and resolving issues? Very often I find people are reluctant to get in touch with their anger because they don't feel they have the right to be angry. This is about self-worth. I will stop telling myself everything is my fault, and I will actually learn to accept that other people have hurt me, and I have the right and the ability to express my anger appropriately. My anger tells me I've been wounded, and looking behind the anger to the pain and identify the hurt, that often we have been very hurt by people, and it is an appropriate reaction to use our anger as good energy that it can be diverted into unhealthy things, can be channeled into positive use of anger in the right way, which can bring freedom and release to us. Finally, 2 cards, one in forgiving the other person, and there are times when this is the appropriate thing to show compassion and understanding towards others and choosing to forgive them for what they have done. Forgiveness doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt or it didn't matter. Forgiveness doesn't mean that they can do it again. And that's all wrapped up with assertiveness and boundaries and finding your voice. A lot of these all go together, but sometimes all that is left to us is to forgiveness if we are to go on living and release ourselves from the pain of that dynamic, and also to show compassion and understanding to ourselves, to forgive ourselves. And often the anger is channeled in that sinkhole way to accuse ourselves and to go down into a defeatist place. And so you can see that self-forgiveness has a really important part to play as well. Now this is really all about exploring relationships. We've also used these cards in other contexts on working with relationships with individuals and couples and families. So I hope you'll find that they're useful for the anger work and more broadly as well. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to give you some details now of how you can get the cards and enjoy working with them yourself with your clients.